Next, we're all familiar with the idea that our home is our castle. But these days it seems many Brits dream of building their own place as well as owning it. Charlie Luxon thinks they've got just the right idea.
When you hear the words self-build, what do you think of? Chances are you probably imagine something like this. A grand design, architecturally striking, built with vision and care. And who lives in a house like this? None other than the chair of the National Self-Build Association, Ted Stevens. Hello, Ted. Hello fellas, how are you?
Right.
Are you well?
Yeah, come on in, come on in.
Lovely, look at this view. That is beautiful, isn't it? What a wonderful location.
Yeah, it's a great location on a sunny day.
So as a self-builder, did you sort of roll up your sleeves and sort of build it yourself?
Well, it's a bit of a misnomer, self-building. People think that you have to lay the bricks yourself if you're doing a self-build, but really that isn't the way. As I said, the vast majority of people hire a builder to do the guts and...
Get the experts in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is one of the extraordinary things about self-build, isn't it? That this country is incredibly behind the rest of Europe and the rest of the world in the amount of self-build that we do.
It's very mainstream in every other country. About half of all the homes in most European countries are built by people who hire an architect and a builder, or perhaps do a bit of the work themselves. But it's just easy as falling off a log in those countries. Whereas, you know, in England, it's only about 1 in 20 homes.
It's about 5% of housing in England is self-delivery, self-build.
Currently, and yet it's 50% in nearly every other country.
What is the role of self-build in delivering the masses of housing that we need to build in this country?
Well, the big change will come when groups of people are involved in schemes. So rather than individuals like me building a single house, it's when a gang of 10 or 20 people get together, perhaps with a developer, perhaps with an architect or a contractor working with them, and then you'll get real scale. And that's the way they do it in Europe.
The shining example of this right now is Almere in the Netherlands. 3,000 new homes, all of them self-delivered. There are 8 simple rules to follow, which cover the height and how close to the edge of the plot people can build. But after that, they're left to get on with it. And instead of it being a bit of a mess, as many feared, Almere is in fact a really vibrant, stimulating environment, where a 2-bedroom apartment will set you back just £69,000. So you're now actually beginning to see government sort of support for this, because I know when I first started looking at the sector sort of 10 years ago, there was basically no government policy on self-build. Absolutely zero. I mean, that is beginning to change, isn't it?
It has changed, and the current government have been really supportive of it. So we've got a £30 million investment fund to help groups get projects away. And the biggest thing has been the change to the planning regulations. So now, for example, every planning authority in the UK has got to measure the demand there is in their area for people who want to build their own home, and they've got to make some provision for it. That means they've got to try and make land available or encourage self-build to happen in some way. In the past, that never happened at all.
So finally, it seems as though here in the UK, we're waking up to the potential of self-build to deliver mass housing. And here in Bristol is one of the early exemplars of this whole approach. It's Ashley Vale. Ashley Vale is a brilliant example of what can happen when people work together. This site was going to be turned into a bunch of generic boxes by one of the big developers, but the locals got organised and convinced the council to sell the site to them instead, and set about building their own development.
We've got about 40 homes on the site.
Right. So I mean, that's not just one person building a house.
No.
That's quite a serious development delivered through self-build.
Delivered through self-build, but more importantly, delivered through community. So the community took on the site, the community got people involved in the process, and there's people from the community that then got involved in actually building their own home. So because we came up with 20 plots and some units in the middle, it allowed us to get the plot prices down to around £25,000 to £45,000,
wow,
which included the infrastructure as well.
That is cheap.
So it's a service plot.
That is really cheap. What's it cost to then build a house?
Well, how long's a piece of string? You know, a lot of the houses on the site were probably built between a cost of about 40,000 up to probably about 120,000 for the build cost.
Right, so some people in this development have got themselves a house for about 75 or 80,000 pounds.
Yes. Now, you're not just getting a house that's cheaper, but you're getting something that you've been involved in the process, which is just, you know, you almost can't put value to that.
If the government is keen for the housing sector to help jumpstart our ailing economy, then it seems to me self-build is a perfect model. Developer-led projects are all about maximising profits, and those profits go straight to their shareholders. Self-build, on the other hand, is all about spreading the money locally. The money you pay a local joiner on a Friday is going to find its way into a local curry house that night and into local shops the following day. Could these new self-build projects hold the key to bringing us out of recession? In Leeds, the Lilac project is now underway. It's a co-housing scheme with a real emphasis on sustainability. What's it going to look like when it's finished?
These are the two-storey houses. There's houses here. Here there'll be a beautifully landscaped area with food and play all happening here. There'll be a pond in the middle.
The walls of these houses are made from, wait for it, straw. Modsel is a system where bales are pinned together with sharpened wooden broom handles inside a timber frame, which is then rendered with lime. It's cheap, it's plentiful, and it's done locally. Modsel have set up a flying factory at a nearby farm, keeping transport costs down. So timber cladding, lime render, super insulated, super airtight.
Yeah.
Is it really affordable? I mean, how much is your house going to cost, and what is going to be the running costs?
The energy bill is going to be, the heating bill is only going to be about £60 a year for...
£60 a year to have a nice, warm home.
Can't wait, can't wait.
Isn't it? More sustainable, cheaper houses. What's not to love? Could it be that we're on the cusp of a revolution? Let's say you're interested in the self-build. What do we need to do to get this thing to speed up, to make this revolution happen?
Well, it's about people in the end and the power that they've got. So I would call on groups of people, young people, it's perfect for them. Make a bit of noise. You don't have to set fire to cars, but convince people in councils and in planning authorities that it's a good way of building, and then it really will take off.